If we talk about financial literacy, like what is your view on that? Should financial brands be more active in that sphere? And where do you see that going in general?
I am a big opponent of the term financial literacy. I don't think it conveys the right notion of what's needed out there. So, for example, I'm not a bad driver. You look at my driving record and all so forth, but I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to the mechanics of the car itself. In other words, literacy is different than behavior. And behavior is a contributor to health and performance. And I think, so many financial institutions over the past 10, 15 years have said, oh, yeah, we have to help people manage their money better. So let's create a section on our website for financial literacy and then put up all this material. And worse, they'll do things like, well, answer these 10 questions to find out how financially literate you are.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
You can be a 10 out of 10. You can be 99 out of 100 in terms of literacy. But if your behavior sucks, then your health and performance sucks. And it isn't about how much money you make necessarily, because here's the other fallacy a lot of people have. People seem to think that everybody who makes $50,000 a year has lower financial health than people who make $150,000 a year. And guess what? It's not true, because you can be a retiree with only $50,000 of income because you have $10 million of savings and investment because you're retired and your income is definitely going to be lower. You also might make $50,000 and be perfectly happy living the lifestyle you do versus somebody who's making $150,000 a year and spending it way out of proportion on who knows what. And so the whole notion of literacy is focusing on the wrong thing. We need to be focusing on behavior and performance. And so financial health is not a new concept. But here's the problem, is that we tend to think about financial health in a binary way. Are you healthy or are you not healthy? It's a spectrum. There's no question, Glad, no question that there are too many people at the low end of the financial health spectrum. It's not just because of the amount of money they make, it's also about their behaviors. But at some point, they, with good guidance and change in behavior, and perhaps change in actually income levels as well, and change in spending behavior, you start moving up the health spectrum. At some point, you don't even think about having a financial health problem. You start thinking about, well, how do I optimize and maximize my performance? Bill Gates doesn't worry about financial health, but I'm sure people who manage his money are still focused on performance. I'm sure they don't go back to him and go, yeah, we put all your money in a 0%, savings account, Bill. So you didn't, not that he'd care at that point, of course, but I'm sure that they don't do that. They still look to maximize and optimize performance. Even at the individual level, and for us normal people who don't make a gazillion billion dollars a year or have it, we still focus on improving our performance. So where this is moving to, Vlad, is a focus on financial health and performance, where we'll start to quantify. One of the things that has always, amazed me is you can go to the doctor, you go to the lab, they can take a few drops of blood, and within 24 hours have 50 to 100 different scores for various aspects of your physical health. We have no way in North America, generally speaking, although there are some companies working on it, to manage or to measure rather financial health other than our credit score, or FICO score, which really only measures credit worthiness. It doesn't measure a lot of other things. There are other aspects. So where we're evolving to, and there's companies working on this, I still think we're very, very early in this. We're going to start to see more granular measures of measurements of various aspects of our financial health and performance. It cuts across things like saving, investing, insuring, and spending, and all these various aspects of it. But we need scores. We need to know how are we doing on these things, so that bank marketers can then come back and say, okay, let's go address the needs of people who are not insuring themselves enough, or those who have spending problems, those who have saving problems, or underperforming on investing. And I think, and I couldn't speak to Canada, but from a US perspective, I think a lot of banks have got to get their act in gear on this, because I think we're going to get to a point here in the US where the government's going to mandate this. I think the government's going to come back to banks and go, you have to prove to us that you're helping to improve the financial health of your customers. And they're going to do that, and the banks are going to go, how do I prove that other than, through quantitative, anecdotal ways of doing it? So, we're going to see an acceleration of this, but it isn't about literacy. It's about behavior, health, and performance.